Hi, I'm Joe, a Warsaw-based shooting instructor. Today's video is the second part in my series on the World War II German Field Lafette, and in this video I'll introduce the doctrine that the Germans applied to the Lafette. First, I'll give a brief history of the concepts of the light and heavy machine gun, how the Germans used those concepts, and how through the development of the MG34 and MG42, forever changed the way that armies utilize and develop machine guns, before concluding the video with the introduction of the basic doctrine and roles the Germans intended the Lafette to fill, so stay tuned. To begin our exploration of the German doctrine surrounding the Field Lafette, first we need to understand the concepts behind the terms light machine gun and heavy machine gun, and how their meanings, due in large part to the development of the MG34 and MG42, evolved over time. In our current era, we have light machine guns or squad automatic weapons, general-purpose machine guns, and heavy machine guns. Light machine guns and squad automatic weapons are generally magazine or belt-fed, shoulder-fired automatic weapons chambered in an intermediate cartridge such as 5.56 NATO, 7.62 by 39, or 5.45 by 39. These are typically attached to infantry squads or sections as a source of instant, high-volume automatic fire and can be carried by a single soldier. Weapons in this category can include purpose-built, belt-fed light machine guns or select-fire rifles modified with heavier barrels, bipods, or belt or drum feeding options. Examples include the US M249 SAW, the FN Mini-Me, and the Soviet RPD and RPK. General-purpose machine guns are typically belt-fed automatic weapons that can be used in a variety of roles, such as fired from the shoulder using a bipod or mounted on a tripod or on vehicles, and is typically chambered in a full-power rifle cartridge such as 7.62 NATO or 7.62 by 54R. Examples include the M60, the M240 Bravo, the FN Mag, the PKM, and the MG3. Heavy machine guns are typically belt-fed automatic weapons mounted on tripods or vehicles chambered in a 50 caliber cartridge and used in the anti-material role. Examples include the M2 Browning and the Dishka. In World War I, the term heavy machine gun generally referred to machine guns that were belt-fed, tripod-mounted, water-cooled to allow for sustained automatic fire, and were typically used in static emplacements. They could often be paired with optics to allow them to be used at great distances in roles such as laying down barrage and suppressing fire. The most obvious examples of this type are the many national variants of the Maxim gun, such as the German MG0815, the British Vickers, and Russian PM M1910. Other examples include the Browning M1917. Post-World War I machine gun development abandoned water cooling in favor of air cooling, and examples include the Browning M1919, the SG-43 Gurianov, and the ZB-53 and Besa family of machine guns. Light machine guns during this time were bipod-mounted, shoulder-fired, magazine-fed, air-cooled automatic weapons that could be carried by a single soldier and used in movement. Western examples include the Madsen, Shoshaw, Hotchkiss, Lewis gun, and the BAR, and in the interwar period, the ZB series and Brent family, and the DP-28. Both types of guns would be chambered in the same caliber as the battle rifles in use by a given army. In the lead-up to World War II, Germany developed an entirely new concept for the machine gun, which they called the Einheitsmaschinengewehr, or Universal Machine Gun, aka one gun to rule them all. A singular machine gun that could handle all of the various tasks machine guns were used in, such as the shoulder-fired, bipod-mounted light machine gun used in movement, or the static, tripod-mounted heavy machine gun, or a machine gun for vehicles and aircraft. For a more in-depth discussion of the concept, see Ian McCullum's video, MG34, the Universal Machine Gun Concept, link in the description. The MG34 was the embodiment of this concept. By changing mounts, adding or removing stocks and bipods, the same gun could conceivably be mounted as a bow, coaxial, or anti-aircraft gun on a tank or armored fighting vehicle, and then be pulled off its mount, reconfigured by adding a stock and a bipod, and then literally be handed down to an infantryman on the ground to be used as a light machine gun. In the heavy machine gun role, this air-cooled machine gun could provide the same or even greater practical rate of fire than the previous generation of water-cooled machine guns by virtue of its faster barrel change, which takes less time than refilling the water reservoir on a water-cooled machine gun, stronger barrel, and higher rate of fire. In the light machine gun role, detachable drums, simply holding a rolled-up belt, could be used to provide the same mobility as magazine-fed light machine guns, but with even higher capacity. We have to understand how groundbreaking the MG34 and later the MG42 were, with the universal machine gun concept being adopted as the basis for virtually all the machine guns in common use today, leading to the concept of the general-purpose machine gun. This influence even extends to the technological level, with many of the most popular contemporary machine guns taking design elements directly from the MG42. While there were relatively limited developments in this concept among other nations during the course of the war, one of the more notable attempts at creating an equivalent to the 34 and 42 was the development of the US M1919 A6, which was an adaptation of the M1919, which saw the addition of a stock and a bipod to create a rather cumbersome stopgap solution that would be replaced in the early post-war era by the M60, which itself was based directly on the MG42 and the FG42. Throughout the course of the war, the Germans used the terms light machine gun and heavy machine gun in reference to both the MG34 and MG42, with the distinguishing factor being the role they were used in based on the World War I concepts. Note that Germany never developed a true 50 caliber anti-material heavy machine gun, equivalent to the M2 or the Dishka. For more information on this, check out Ian McCullum's video, Why No German World War II 50 cal Machine Guns. Turning now to the German Army manuals, Colonel Boots tells us how the machine gun becomes a light or heavy machine gun according to the type of support, either on a bipod or a Lafette, and that by simply changing the type of mount, changes the classification of the machine gun. He also points out that most countries use machine guns that are made to be exclusively light or heavy machine guns, and that very few countries besides Germany have a machine gun that can readily alternate between being used in the light or heavy machine gun roles. Furthermore, he adds that the designation of heavy or light machine gun doesn't correspond to the weight of the machine gun, but rather the concept the use of the machine gun would fulfill. Lastly, he explains that, for attack, a light machine gun is fired from the shoulder of the gunner, has no mounted optic, and can only deliver automatic fire. Two of the main differences between the performance of the light and heavy machine guns are the practical rates of fire the weapons can achieve in each role, as well as the distances at which they can effectively engage targets. In the light machine gun role, the gunner will typically fire bursts of 3 to 5 shots at a time, giving a practical firing rate for the MG34 of 120 to 150 rounds per minute, and the MG42 150 to 180 rounds per minute. In the heavy machine gun role, the gunner is able to effectively fire longer bursts of 20 to 30 shots at a time, giving a practical firing rate of 300 to 350 rounds per minute for the MG34 and 400 to 450 rounds per minute for the MG42. Remember that ammo cans only hold 300 rounds each. As for effective range, in the light machine gun role, these machine guns can effectively engage targets up to 1,200 meters, while in the heavy machine gun role, they can effectively engage targets up to between 1,500 to 2,000 meters, and with the telescopic sight, can engage targets such as troop masses in direct fire up to 3,000 meters and in indirect fire up to 3,500 meters. Finally, moving on to the Lafette itself, the Lafette was intended to serve as a shooting stand for the MG34 and MG42 in the heavy machine gun role. The telescopic optic allows for the engagement of targets up to 3,000 meters with direct aiming and 3,500 meters with indirect aiming, while the mechanical sights are graduated up to 2,000 meters. The Lafette allows the gunner to fire longer bursts of up to 20 to 30 shots at a time and engage large area targets by dispersing the cone of fire from side to side, traversing fire, or by adjusting the elevation manually or using the searching fire device, depth fire. The Lafette also reduces the risk of friendly fire when overshooting friendly troops and facilitates shooting through gaps in friendly troops by using the traverse limiters. The use of the telescopic optic also allows for the engaging of pre-established targets during periods of low visibility. The Lafette extension tube 34 allows the gunner to shoot while standing in order to engage aircraft or ground targets while shooting over cornfields, hedges, etc. Lastly, the Lafette can be set up to fire from 4 basic positions: prone, sitting, kneeling, and, with the Lafette extension tube, standing. The Lafette can be further configured to fit many different situations, such as when firing from bunkers, trenches, or other emplacements. These configurations will be discussed in depth in a separate video. And now you have an understanding of the basic doctrine the Germans applied to the Lafette during World War II. In the next video in this series, I'll discuss the different configurations the Lafette could be set up in. Subsequent videos will explore the concepts of indirect fire, overshooting friendly troops, depth fire, both using the searching fire device and manually, and the telescopic sight. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Check out my machine gun instruction playlist, and follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/SurviveWithJoe. Leave your questions in the comments, and I'll try to answer them in a future video. Thanks for watching.